You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of derivatives. A dimension of the mind. You're moving at a velocity with area and discontinuity, both infinite and jump. You've just crossed into the integral zone. Imagine a Fresnel function, or some other scary function like x to the fourth divided by x to the third. You don't know what to do. What do you do? Here is the sad tale of one Jonah K., a man who didn't know what to do, even when his friends told him what had to be done.
But Jonah, you could just use YoU substitution on this problem. Here.
But Jonah tried the easy way out. He used his TI-84 and was run over by a car the next day. He should have listened to Will's warning. If only Jonah had done YoU substitution. If only he'd learn these examples we will now tell you about.
Okay, so now we're going to show you guys how to use YoU substitution. So we're going to come back to this really challenging integral after we do a more basic version of it. So let's start with doing e to the x, the integral of e to the x dx. Okay, fairly standard stuff. So you can do this integral in several different ways because it has an elementary antiderivative, but let's just do it with YoU substitution first. So YoU substitution is all about substituting out one part of your integral to make it simpler. So we will choose, this is our u first. So we'll say that our u is equal to our x, and our du is equal to dx. Okay. So now we can rewrite our integral as the integral of e to the u du, and then so that's just the same thing as it would be if it was e to the x dx. It's just e to the u plus c. But then we sub back in our x because we said here that u is equal to x, so we'll sub that back in. So that's our answer. So we're going to bring this back over here to our harder equation. So after you gain a little bit of intuition with these problems, you can kind of like start to tell what your u should be. So here we can see that our x squared, once we take the derivative of that, because we have to take the derivative of our u, if we take the derivative of an x squared, we're going to get 2x, which is our term here. So let's go ahead and do that. U is equal to x squared plus 2x plus 3. Du is equal to 2x plus 2. Oh, would you look at that? Worked out pretty well. Okay, so let's rewrite this problem. Integral of, so this subs in, that goes away. Technically it's 2dx dx. That goes away, and that goes away. So now we have e to the u, d to the u, integral of that, and then it's just the same thing, e to the x plus c. So we'll sub back in our u, so then we get e to x squared plus 2x plus 3 plus c as our answer. So Jonah, how are you going to solve this problem?
Alright, so I think I've calmed down a little bit, and so I think I am ready to solve this. So we're going to be doing it very similar to the last one. The only difference is this time we're going to be using a definite integral with the bounds from 0 to 2. So you're going to approach it in the same way. You're going to be looking at the problem and saying, what can I use the YoU substitution? What will, when I take the derivative of u, what will make the problem simpler? So in this case, taking u as 1 plus x squared is going to make the problem a lot simpler. And usually the more complicated portions of the equation are going to be what you want to use as a substitution. So we have u equals 1 plus x squared. Then we need to take the derivative of that. Du equals 2x dx. Now one thing I like to do just for convenience is divide the 2x on either side. So say du over 2x equals dx. And now I do that because it's very easy to plug in for dx. So we're going to plug in for u and we're going to plug in for dx. So it's going to be still from 0 to 2. 2x root u, and then du over 2x, and look at that, the 2x's cancel out. So at this point you have two options. Since the bound from 0 to 2 refers to the x, you can either position the u, or put the u back as in terms of what the x was, or you can take the bounds in terms of u. And usually you want to do whichever one is going to be more simpler. In this case, keeping it as u is going to be simpler. So let's see. So when x equals 0, the lower bound, u equals 1 plus 0 squared. That equals 1. And when x equals 2, u equals 1 plus 2 squared. That's 4 plus 1, and that is 5. So now over here, our new bounds of integration is 1 to 5. We got root u du. And just for, usually what I like to do is change that square root to 1/2. Makes it easier to solve. It's 1 to 5 du. And this is fairly simple. This is just going to be u to the 3/2, and we got to think about when you take the derivative what constant's going to be added. So in this case, it's going to be 2/3. And you can check by saying, okay, well, the derivative of e to the 3/3 is going to be 3/2 to the 1/2. And then, since you have the 2/3 here, sorry, I forgot the 2/3 here, it cancels out. And so that works out. So you have this from 1 to 5, and all that's left is to just solve it out. So you have 2/3 5 to the 3/2 minus 2/3 1 to the 3/2. And we could take this farther, but I'm going to leave it as that for now. And this is the answer. Not too bad.
Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of YoU substitution, that state is obsolete. For civilization to survive, the human race has to remain civilized. We can't rely on the TI-84 machine. Good evening.